Welcome to Go Solo Live.
Don't you mean go solo live? Have you ever been asked, why on earth would you travel alone? Go Solo Live not only answers that question, but celebrates life as a midlife solo traveler. This is a safe place for women to come together to reminisce about their travels, encourage others to travel, and to dig into the real lessons learned from these journeys. Now join Jennifer Buchholz with Transform Via Travel as she and her guests share stories of the solo travelers of midlife women.
Welcome to Go Solo Live. This is Jennifer with Transform Via Travel. We are in our special season of our podcast, and now I'd like to introduce Dr. Mary Travel Best.
Welcome to Dr. Mary Travel Best's Independent Travel Guide. This is for women who travel, who want to travel, and especially for those who want to travel independently. What's on your bucket list? You can tell me your dreams, your wishes, and your travel fantasies of where you want to travel, and I'll help you get there. I'm going to respond to your travel questions, as well as share my mistakes and missteps in travel. And because I've made just about every mistake, you don't have to. I wrote and published the best-selling and famous book, CD, and website, The World's First Guide to Independent Travel. And since 1993, I've been running a marketing business, raising 4 children with my husband, and been a university professor while traveling. My travel experiences are helpful to others like you, so I want to share them so you make your trip the very best, like travel best. In this episode, I'm going to talk about a frequently asked question. One is what you should share or not on social media. I'll also talk about a destination, the Seychelles. I'll talk about a travel mistake that I've made, and I'll give you a travel tip. So first, the FAQ. This came in from Patty. She asked, what ways should you be careful in terms of sharing about your travels on social media? So I'm thinking Patty wants me to talk about the content. So that's where I'm going to address this. What should you be careful about for the content that you post and your replies? Well, let me just say that I have been in social media. It's Web 2.0. I was in Web 1.0, but it's a blessing today, but for some it's a curse. And I want to give you some tips for using it on the road. It can be a distraction from what you're experiencing. So this is something to consider. If you're out there with your camera and you're interfering with others' experiences, you might want to reconsider that. How are you interacting with those you're with? And if you're by yourself, there might be some other people that you could be interfering with. Instead, you could be talking with somebody instead of trying to get the best social post and sending that up to strangers. So I want you to think about how are your social actions and also your content going to affect others. So maybe one of the things you could do is look before you go and kind of ask using social media. This is one of the great things about using social media, and this is before you even take your trip. Ask about where to stay, where to eat, places to visit, what experiences, what things to bring, what not to bring. And then once on the road, take a limit to your social media and connect only when you really need to connect. Otherwise, I hope you take a break. You can always catch up later. I like for you to be where you are. And you can wait to post. You don't have to get that instant message right up there. So maybe one of the things that I want to give advice here is don't always try to get things up and posted. Be patient. Maybe even wait till you're home. And you don't have to always tell people that you're away. You know, your home could be a target for burglars. And this has happened to some people. So in essence, I want you to give yourself a time limit. How long are you going to set for you to be online each day? You may need your devices, which is a good thing, to get directions and such. So if you don't have any battery life left because you're on social media, then that's not a good thing. So take a limit. Another concern about the content you're sharing is other people who you might be with may not want their social media shared. So consider the privacy of others when you post. And you certainly don't want to embarrass others. So again, try to use the golden rule. Do what you want others to do to you. That's really good for social media too. If you have questions about how to use social media while you're traveling, I'd love to address those in more detail. So let's talk about a destination. This is such an exciting destination for me. It's the Seychelles. It starts with an S, in case you're wondering. The Seychelles are in the Indian Ocean off the coast of East Africa, and I had never even heard of them. So if you haven't, then you were just like me. I visited Kenya, and so that's where I heard about the Seychelles. And the more I heard about it, the more I just had to go. So I'll talk to you a little bit about my trip and how I can guide you. The best times to visit are in April, May, October, and November. I was there in September, and so it was kind of on the shoulder of the best months. These are the best months because it really does get hot and humid, and you get these northwest trade winds that go from November through March. So you want to enjoy the cooler southwest trade winds that come in from April through October. So it's about 1,000 miles off the coast of Kenya, and it includes more than 100 smaller islands. And it's, to kind of give you a little perspective, it's north of Madagascar. The first language is French Creole, and then English. So I really didn't have much of a problem navigating, and I was all by myself for the entire trip. A couple of language issues, but really nothing important. I was able to get through that with sign language and such. One of the things you'll notice when you get to the Seychelles, it's really tropical, first of all. You'll feel that humidity right away when you land on the plane. The vegetation is lush. And I want to tell you about the Coco de mer. These are these plants. They're sea coconuts, and there's male and there's female. And I took a walk through a forest of these plants, and it was really, really outstanding. You also want to look for tortises, and if you have the opportunity, like I did, to go scuba diving, that was a really, really great experience. Yes, there are some nude beaches there too. Those could be of interest. Also, there's something called mini mokes, and these are like golf carts that you drive on the road. So you rent a car, and it's basically kind of an open air Jeep. It's called a mini moke. I did go to bed and breakfasts there, and one of the unusual things was one of the islands I went to had oxen instead of cars. So the oxen actually took me to the dock where I could get my boat to go back to another island. So the small islands are all reachable by boat, and that's really easy to arrange. I would also recommend you visit an island called La Digue. So one of the things about the islands is that it's filled with a lot of European travelers. I only met one other American that I can tell you about. It was very, very European in feel. I got this book that's called Seychelles in Your Pocket. And that's really all I used as my guide for the entire time I was there. So if you are able to get a copy of that little book, you'll really feel like you can get your way around. Again, I had no clue where I was headed to, but what an adventure. So I would encourage you, if you feel called to be on a special island away from it all and not be surrounded by American tourists, this is a great place to go. So let's talk about a mistake, a travel mistake. This is one I've done more than once. It's missing my flight. I've done it several times, and I don't want you to do that. In Seattle, I slept right through my flight. I woke up after it had left. I didn't set an alarm. It was a wrong move for me. In Chicago, I was stuck in a cab trying to get to the airport. I missed my first solo flight to San Diego. So I hope you don't do that as well. And in Tahiti, this is a real big one. I missed my flight by 12 hours. I had a paper written ticket in my hand, and the travel agent had written down 1 p.m., but the flight really left at 1 a.m. So on top of that, I was on an island and I missed the boat to get to the airport. So I actually took a flight just to get to the airport that day. And was I disappointed to find out that my flight had left 12 hours. I could have stayed on that deserted island for another 2 days. But I made the most of it, and this is what you have to do. When you miss your flight, you grab a hold of your confidence and just say, I've missed it. What is my next step? So don't make my mistakes, but try to figure out the best next course of action. Either take the next flight you can, talk to the gate agent at the airport, try to be patient and kind. Kindness goes a long way. So you'll be surprised how far kindness can go. Now remember this, the journey that you're on is part of the adventure, and how you handle it is really going to make all the difference. So some travel advice from Dr. Travel Best about eating out. So what should you eat when you're on the road is my big concern. So the first thing I want to talk about is don't drink the water in a country that you don't know. Only drink bottled water. And you could go to the nicest dining areas and you still could get sick. One of the things that I could recommend to you is you can usually eat bread. That's usually okay to eat. And usually, not always, fresh fruits, but you might want to peel the skin off. You can always ask first. And something that happened to me when I was in China, when there was nobody around who spoke any English, is I looked at what other people were eating, and I could maybe point to it and say, I'll have that, by just pointing to what it was someone else was eating. I still don't know what it was that I ate, but I enjoyed the experience. The water, I want to go back to the water. It probably has some kind of bacteria. The locals who live there, they've developed an immunity, and you don't have that. So don't even rinse your mouth out with water. Don't brush your teeth with it. When you're in the shower, make sure you keep your mouth closed. You can carry pills to treat the water, and what I used to do is just carry a small ounce or two of water in a bottle because, just if you need to wet your whistle, you don't want to get sick. We want to protect you from that. I want to bring meaning to your travel, and I just want to thank you for sharing this with your friends, with your girlfriends. And if you want to know more, you can search for Dr. Mary Travel Best. You'll find me on the web. You'll find me on social media. Find me in audio formats. I really want to help women travel. So please send me your travel questions. I can help you and others too. And I'm looking for you to travel best. So go ahead and let me know what's on your bucket list.